Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
They playing with me. They playing with me. They playing with me. Ah, why they keep doing this to me? Why y'all doing me so bad? All right, look. I think we got it together this time. Let me get everybody up here. I think that's the problem. Hold up. Coach Sydney.
Yo, you over there happy hour or what?
It must be. It must be. Somebody ain't pour my drink or something. What's the word, man?
Hey, you got it, man. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Happy to be here. You know, it's cold. Hope everybody out there staying warm and getting ready for this impact that's coming in this weekend, man. It's gonna be bad across the country.
Yo, how was that event earlier, man? How everything go?
Oh man, yeah, it was nice, man. It was really good. it got intense. It got a little spicy to be able to see the judge and the ex-mayor, exchange a few jabs and go back and forth, man, and talk about the economy and the future of the area. It was pretty intense. It was pretty nice to see.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. This is what I'm gonna do. I got the clip. I'm gonna bring it up on the big screen, and I'm gonna let him get his bars off. We're gonna chop it up. Sydney look like she's trying to get some things together, so I'm gonna let her handle her.
Blockbuster night going on over
there. Since I'm ADHD, I'm always doing other things at the same time. But I can here.
All right. Let me bring this up though. I had this for like a solid 2 weeks or so. And yeah, let me go ahead and play this.
Listen. Who gave them the right to charge us for water and land they didn't create? We should not be paying anything for our existence on this earth. Let that sink in. Let it scrape against everything that you've been taught, because the most insane idea humanity ever normalized is that you owe money simply for being alive. You were born here without consent on a planet you did not create, under a sky that no government ever hung, breathing air that no corporation manufactured, and somehow you start life already in debt. That's not normal. That's not moral. That is not even sane. Explain to me how land became owned. Explain how water became a bill. Explain how shelter became rent, movement became a license, and rest became something you have to earn after selling most of your waking hours. They didn't just monetize labor. They monetized survival. And the moment survival has a price tag, freedom is gone. Because if you must comply to be allowed to live, that is not choice. That is coercion. Wearing a suit and calling itself civilization. And don't insult people by calling this just how the world works. That phrase is the psychological gag they stuff in your mouth before they tighten the leash. Miss enough payments and watch how fast the mask drops. They don't just take your house. They don't just shut off your utilities. They take your mobility. They take your dignity. They cage your body, all because you failed to keep up with the subscription fee for being alive. That's not order. That is a threat backed by force. Work itself is not the enemy. Contribution is natural. Humans have always built, always grown, always created, and always shared. What is evil is when contribution stops being voluntary and becomes a condition for survival. What is evil is when fear of hunger, homelessness, and medical neglect is used as the whip. And that fear is not accidental. It's engineered. It keeps you obedient, tired, and arguing with your neighbor instead of questioning the system that's draining you dry. No moral system, none, can justify charging human beings for access to the earth they were born on. If a system requires you to earn the right to exist, then that system is illegitimate at its core. And if hearing this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the sound of a lie cracking. You're not lazy for questioning this. You're not crazy for feeling it's wrong. You're dangerous because you're starting to realize the truth. You were never meant to pay for your own existence.
Was he cooking or was he cooking? Tell me if I'm off here.
I agree with all of it. I've written poems about this very thing. I've been just recently, there's a YouTube channel that I found where they dress up like aliens and point out the hypocrisies in humans. It's very funny. I'll have to send you the videos. But there is one where they do that, where he's like, why do you guys live on a planet that you were born on, but you have to pay for everything to live on? And then he like starts freaking out and like having a panic attack. And he's like, calm down, you're overheating. It's very much one of my things. Like environmentalism is my thing, but also the corporate takeover of life in general, where we don't own the water, we don't own the land, we don't own the food, we don't own anything. And they even make it hard for us to own our stuff. Like if you live in a city They limit how big your gardens can be. They limit what types of animals you can raise. They limit what you do with your land. They limit how many people can live in your space. Like, there's so many different rules and laws that prevent people from living the way that they used to, self-sustainably. And like, there's limits on hunting, there's limits on fishing. Like, we don't own anything really. And to this day, I still remember my history teacher that he was like, you'll get extra credit this year if you can think of anything that's free. And if you came to him and was like, this is free, then he'd be like, well, here's examples of how it's not free. Here's examples of how you have to pay for these things. And that always stuck with me. And as I grew up, it's something that I've noticed, like, nothing you do is for free, not even your time.
Coach, how you feeling?
I mean, I thought it was a CGI video. It didn't. I was looking at the movements and looking at the gestures. It looks like something made off of Hey Jen. But like Sid said, I mean, it's the typical things you can find on YouTube and anywhere else. You do have a lot of people questioning and asking these things, but it's just like everything else. Is okay. Everybody's asking and talking about it. Now what? So I think that's where other places may be more advanced. When we were talking about different things a few pods ago, we were talking about how they were more or less quick to take the action, the issues that they had, versus here in America, people just kind of go to YouTube and make a parody out of it. So, okay, with some good points in the video. Now what? What do we do now?
One of the main issues is we don't know all the laws in our states, in our cities.
When you said we, what do you mean by we?
Well, all right, how can I frame this? The ones that are complaining the most or have the most to say. How much do you know about what's going on? Are you asking the questions? Have you brushed up on what's going on in your ward? Do you have any type of relations with your city council, your government, those officials? Like, do you know what you should be doing? Do you know what you should be doing on paper to make it where they hear your voice, so that the issues that you are trying to address, they actually get acknowledged? Or is it just, are we just saying, all right, this is our problem and that's it? It's cool to talk about it, but didn't, like you said, now what? One thing I didn't know, and I just did a reaction to this earlier. I didn't know that you could go to jail for taking rainwater and snow, melted snow, and using it. I didn't realize that it was supposed to be a part of the public once it hits the ground. So you can't even do nothing with the water itself. I just found that out. So it's like, all right, now I have to brush up on some stuff. So I know Texas is a state where you can do certain things with it, but unto a certain extent. Like if you, it's an irrigation is like you have like an irrigation system and you can kind of do certain stuff with it. You can only have a certain capacity of it, but if you go over that, then it's a problem. It's illegal and all these things, but that's only in certain states. Some places they don't really care about that. But then when you flip it, you got folks that sell human skeletons and bones and things like that on the market and all that. So it's like, Yeah, man. I guess what I'm saying is, do we really know, or do certain people know what to do right now? We get off the phone, we get off the live stream. All right, I know I could call such and such, and I can do this, or I can fill out these forms, and this is going to go directly to the secretary here. Secretary is going to transfer it over to this person. All right, this is my complaint. Let's sit down and have a meeting. That's it. I guess that would be the natural progression.
I think the other thing that we have to take into consideration is, yes, obviously, politicians are a massive component, but it's also the corporations that those politicians get their money from. Because a lot of these politicians, not all of them, but a lot of them get to the places they are because people sponsored them, people paid to help them get to those places. And it's a quid pro quo. They're doing favors for those groups. Like, they'll make some of the regulations more lax. They'll allow them to do things that maybe other corporations might not get to do. It does depend on the state, because some states do have more rigid laws about these things. But another aspect to essentially gaining our power back, being educated, is also who we give our money to. Because yes, we do vote in people that make certain laws, but we also vote with our dollars. Every purchase we make is a vote in a certain direction, support for certain groups of people. And that's another area that people are not educated, where they don't know who they're giving their dollars to. They don't know who the CEOs and the stockholders of those companies are, and who's benefiting from whatever they're supporting. I mean, even what do you call it? Foundations and why am I blanking on the word? Nonprofits. Even like nonprofits, some of them are just fronts where they're funneling money, and there's some that are better than others. And if you donate, sometimes if you think you're donating to help sick kids, you're not, and your money's just going to a foundation to help somebody else not have to pay as much in taxes. Because that's one of the things in America, is if you do a lot of donations, you can write those off on your taxes. And so then we have corporate leaders using that as a loophole to not have to pay as much money. And that's exactly what Bill Gates does, where they have all of their foundations. Yes, some of the stuff that they do does help people, but most of that money that they earn, they put through those foundations. That way they can write it off on their taxes and just say, oh, we donated it, so we don't have to get taxed on these things. And that's a very common loophole for a lot of these big businesses, and billionaire status individuals will take, just to get away with not having to give that money away, or so they say, give that money away, which, if everyone understood what taxes were for, taxes are supposed to go back to us. They're supposed to help with our roads. They're supposed to help with our healthcare. They're supposed to help with subsidizing other areas that are for the people, for everyone else. And I think people don't really understand the money system in general. And that's a problem, because they're not understanding where their money's going and what's happening to it when it's getting spent. And so a lot of people are so checked out, they don't really care or know where their money is actually ending up going.
Yeah, I think it's not even the education piece anymore. It's just the fact that whether or not people care, and I don't think people care anymore. So that's going to be the hardest part, is trying to redirect and get people's attention, is because people are doing so bad right now. It's just the effort isn't there anymore. You know, the fact of the matter, they care or not, they're not going to put any more effort into it. They got to do anything. And you hear people saying that right now when they're out there protesting, they're out there marching, is they're going to do the bare minimum. So you're asking people that is already voiced you and telling you they're going to do the bare minimum to now to be educated on something completely new and different that they probably aren't going to get compensated for. And that's not going to happen. You muted.
Overtime, working extra hours, life-threatening jobs, minimum wage. You're not really getting any type of benefits with your insurance. You got to have 3-4 jobs just to live in the city. 14, 15, $1,600 for a little room. Charging for everything except for air right now. I'm surprised that hasn't even been put on the list yet.
It's on the list. It depends on if you're skiing or anything like that. They got flavored air and Aspen.
What the hell? All right, I didn't heard everything now. Yeah, that's some wild shit. Damn.
Some college kids were getting high off in dust back in the 90s, man. Now they just found another way to capitalize off of it.
Damn. All right, man.
Hey, Sid, you need to hit the camera or something. You gyrating all in the camera. What's going on over there?
In the mirror. I've just decided to get an OF just, because I can. No.
Okay, we got a skeleton doing the boogie woogie over there.
Yeah. I was also going to say, to even get like clean, fresh air in your house, sometimes you even have to get like air filters and fancy equipment just to clean out the air in your own home. Like you have to get people to come and clean out your air ducts and all of that stuff. You have to pay money to make somebody come in and fix the air in your house for you. And it sometimes doesn't even work in certain states, particularly upper Midwest and sometimes towards the East Coast. The air quality is so bad. They put warnings if you're under the age of, I think it's usually 10, or if you're over the age of like 60, do not go outside during these times because it's so polluted. It's dangerous for your health and it can trigger asthma attacks, heart attacks, respiratory issues. And people have died from air pollution. We don't think of that because, a lot of people just don't think of that type of stuff. They have better things to do, other things to worry about. Nobody wants to think about the quality of their air, their water, their food. But that is another thing that's becoming a huge problem. And historically, it hasn't been a big problem in the US. Like the closest we got was during the 80s before they started changing how car filtration systems work and stuff like that, the exhaust and whatnot. But other countries have been dealing with this for a while. China, India, I think, what's the other one? Europe towards like Italy, France, what's the other? Spain. Especially in their big cities, they have a massive problem with air pollution. And they have made even more strides towards cleaner methods of energy production than we have. So that kind of tells you how bad it could potentially get. Those areas are a lot more concentrated than America is. But as more people leave the Midwest, the rural South, a lot of the areas that have historically been very vacant parts of the country are losing a lot of people because families with kids don't want to move there because there's no job opportunities. And so more and more people are fleeing to the cities. And that is going to exacerbate the pollution altogether, because then you're going to have a lot more people concentrated in the same locations. And in recent years, scientists have been warning about this in the escalation of pollution. I know New York City has done a lot of work in recent years because it was getting to the point where, like, most of the year it was unsafe for people to be outside just because of all of the air pollution, not just from traffic and cars, but also from the factories and stuff like that. And the other concern is with AI explosion, those are going to produce even more pollution. With the air pollution is one of the aspects, but the big problem is the water pollution. There's a lot of people that live in the locations of these AI production factory facilities, whatever you call them, and they can't even drink their water now. They have boil orders and like drink bottled water orders from their government because the water is now unsafe to drink, or they just don't have water because it's been taken by these companies. So I think we're kind of reaching a point where people across the board are going to be face to face with these issues that we've been ignoring, putting off, being like, oh, that's a third world country problem for decades and decades. And now everyday average people are going to be exposed to these issues, and we don't really have solutions for them.
Is it that we don't really have solutions for them, or we just don't show enough concern for it?
Both.
You got the solutions, because one of the things that will happen, because we'll get to that place. Well, you're gonna have to mobilize, and you're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be based on the talents and the trades that you can bring to the table. Then that's when you'll probably see the resurgence of all your vets that have all those talents that they use while being in third world countries. As the United States transitions and converts into a third world country, that's when all those talents will come into play, and all those degrees and all the other stuff that people got, instead of talents and trades, you'll see the swap, and then you'll see the shift. And that's kind of what you're starting to see right now, because like she just said, in Texas alone, man, the data centers and then all these smart cities that they're trying to transform these cities into, all these cities are now competing on how they're going to redirect and divert water to different places, because everybody's running out of water. Like Vegas has been running out of water. Lake Mead's dried up, so that's why Vegas is trying to figure out what they're going to do, because they don't have any more water. Everything's been diverted away from there to Colorado. Now Texas is on the chopping block trying to figure out where they're going to get their water from, with the droughts and all the things that's going on. But with Elon in Austin, he setting up his Tesla centers, and then you got data centers popping up all over the place. Again, that's where the infrastructures and all the issues are going to come into play, is because you need more power, you need more water, and they're going to have to farm all that stuff in because they're running out of water everywhere. Right. And that's why you're only going to have the smart cities that's going to be around, because that's where they're going to redirect and put all their traffic and everything into, is the smart cities, because that's what's going to take up all the power, all the water, all the resources. So, I mean, again, we start talking about education. It just depends on what level and how open-minded you are. I mean, because this stuff is here. It's not coming in the future. It's already here today. And then you start talking about land, and all those things that people don't have, because, you guys mentioned land earlier being so expensive, and then resources. And that's why a lot of people, went to the South, especially when COVID happened. people left New York, Florida, all those other places, even 50. He went down to Houston. You know what I mean? No state taxes. Get more bang for your buck because they was getting bashed upside the head over in New York with all the taxes and stuff. So you start going to those other places, and then California, when all the fires happened, everybody relocated. Harvey, when that happened, Katrina, when that happened, everybody, the influx, you know what I mean, in Texas and all those other places, once they got the insurance money and cashed out. So now you're just at the point now, it ain't nothing left, man. As you talked about those videos, you don't get no more land. You know what I'm saying? This is Roblox and all that other shit that them kids play. All the land has been bought up. Now, you know, you start talking about buying land 3 years ago when they was shopping around in the metaverse. When people were going in the metaverse buying land, you know, with Bitcoin and all those other different things. So then you start asking, well, what was that? What was that about? The test run, you know, you had people in there buying up all kinds of land, acres with V-Bucks. So if you're running out of land in the real world, you go online and you can buy land.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now the cycle, you know, is perpetuated all over again. And if you didn't have money on this side and you don't got no money on the virtual side, now you're just gonna end up going through a different. She laughing, but it's the same thing though, because you know that money it translates over. You know, you gotta have money to buy V-Bucks. As crazy as that sounds, you know what I mean? You was giving your kids money for V-Bucks 5 or 6 years ago, and then that V-Bucks might be what's making and breaking households in another 3 or 4 years.
I remember food stamps, like the paper ones. I'm not talking about the EBT card. I'm talking about the actual paper food stamp. Now you talking about V-Bucks. I don't even know what the hell that is.
You ain't got no kids.
I have a couple things to say. First of all, this one's more of a funny and yes, hi. Funny in a dark way. I just watched this episode. I like watching Dave Ramsey sometimes just because it motivates me to not spend all my money and seeing other people's poor decisions.
You know, he's just a speaker. He's not actually a financial guru, right?
I know, but it's still like representative of the type of people that exist and the type of spending that people have. There was somebody that spent over $100,000 just on like video game currencies and stuff like that. And I still remember when I was in high school, that's when Facebook came out, aging myself. I had classmates that were like, oh, I just got all of this on Farmville and I have all this land on, look at all these accomplishments that I got on these games. And I used to think to myself, even at that age, I'm like, why are you excited about land and animals that you don't own? Like, I would much rather have the real thing. I went to school at a place that had an agricultural farm because we were one of the remaining schools in my county that actually had the FFA organization at our school. And I had goats. I helped my friends with their pigs. I had chickens and ducks and rabbits, and I loved it. And I never understood why people would want to waste on fake creatures and fake land and everything like that. When I'm like, why wouldn't you just have the real thing? Like, why can't you just save your money and get the actual land? I'm like, you can't brag about having a mansion if you don't get to actually live in it. But it's like, it's such a dystopian society, it feels like today. And I've also heard about BlackRock and other organizations that when people get pushed off their land, this happened in both the Camp Fire in Northern California that happened in 2019, I believe, as well as the recent fires that happened in, pull in a blank. They were There's one in the hills above Los Angeles, and then there was one by the beach area, and they're like at the same time. But a lot of those people, when they got hit with those fires, they lost their properties. And when the land surveyors, whatever they're called, came in to be like, for the insurance companies, how much can you get back? What is it going to cost to build here? Because a lot of those homes were older, when they came and valued the land, they valued the land much higher than the homeowners were able to get from the insurance companies for their houses that they lost. And so they basically got priced out of buying their land back. And this is happening in a lot of different locations with disasters, where this also happened in Lahaina in Hawaii, where people have their homes for generations. And then as soon as they lose it to a disaster, they no longer can afford to move back in. And then developers come and buy up those plots and sell them for higher prices, because then they're able to get more money off the land, increasing the prices to higher end homeowners. And this is obviously affecting the lower income families. And it's basically allowing these companies to come in and just gobble up the land and be like, all right, we're going to make this a renter's economy, or we're just going to make it super high end houses and apartments and condos and whatever, which again is going to price people out of the homes and the places that they grew up in. Not to mention, they, as I said earlier, they're putting more and more limitations on how you can actually use the land. And so it's making it harder and harder for people to live in a way that's good for them, good for their family. For example, here in San Diego, if we wanted to get, so we were looking at mobile homes. And we were considering getting one because it was within our budget. Like here in San Diego, if you want a drug house, it'll be like $500,000 and you have to pay cash for it, which ain't nobody got that. At least I don't. So I'm like, I'm priced out of like burnt drug homes. I'm like, okay, cool. So you want me to spend $750,000 for a 1-bedroom, half-bath house? I don't think so. No. And so we were looking at manufactured homes, which are kind of like mobile homes, but you can't move them once they build it. But what I found out is you buy the manufactured home and you put it on the land, but it has to be manufactured land approved, which is owned by a different company. So we don't actually own the land that our house is on, but you can't actually move the house. So if they were like, yeah, we want the land back, we would lose the house that we own. I'm like, what? What kind of scheme is this? It's crazy. And this is something that is affecting homeowners across the board, where they're like, this is actually a reason why I've heard people regretting moving from California to Texas, because property taxes are higher in taxes in Texas are higher in Texas. In California, it's income tax that's higher. And so people would leave California because they were mad about how much the government was taking their money. Give me 1 second. Hey, get off that. Go. Messing with the dog. They would leave California because they were upset by how much they're taking from their paychecks. And then they moved to Texas, but then all the money that they got from work was then taken by their properties. And a lot of people, a percentage of people that had moved to Texas from California tried to move back from Texas to California again, but they were then priced out because their home in Texas was significantly cheaper than it is to buy a house in California. And I think that's another thing that people are starting to realize is we're kind of stuck in a losing game right now, because in some areas, the price is dropping And then in some areas, the price is skyrocketing. But the places that are skyrocketing are the places that people want to move. And the places that are dropping are mostly places that are either overcrowded or places that people don't want to live. And you're kind of stuck. I've noticed, like, especially since the housing crisis in 2008, and particularly escalating around COVID, people started playing hot potato with houses where they were like, I'm buying the house, then I'm selling it for a profit, and buying the next house and selling that for a profit. And then eventually you'd get to somebody who they couldn't get any more for their house and sometimes had to lose money. And I'm seeing that a lot now where people are trying to sell these houses that they got for cheap and they increased in price, but now nobody will buy it for that price because they can't afford it. So I think across the board, like with water, housing, whatnot, it's all becoming harder and harder for average people to access. And I won't go on a tangent about this, but I just wanted to mention, since I forgot to say it, in the Midwest, most of them rely on the Ogallala Aquifer. And that is drying up as well. And so those areas are also running out of water because they're over tapping the system because of the farms. So draining resources are raising prices.
There was a video I watched last year around February or March. The gentleman that was covering it, he was talking about how, what both of you basically are alluding to, how they're actually trying to force everybody into one specific location by essentially making things either overpriced or so difficult to afford that you have no choice but to pick up and go where they want you to go. It's like they're trying to, they're using invisible pitchforks and they're kind of poking at you to move in one direction. So you're all under one control. That's what it comes down to. That's what it feels like. They're trying to make this a single system where everything is under one rule. And I didn't think that, I didn't really take it that serious at first until I started seeing people getting kicked out on the street. Actors. I'm seeing the last year at least 4 to 5 different actors homeless. You know, these are people that we watched growing up. And it's like, what? Not you. That's impossible. Now they talking from cars. They on drugs. They don't know who they are anymore. They families trying to get them help. They don't want help no more. NBA players, just like, yeah, you can tell. And it's fucked up, man, because it's really us doing this to us. That's what it boiled down to. It's us doing this to us because somebody said we want complete control. We can't control everybody. Some people, they're not under a code. They're not following the system. They got their own mind. They're going to go out here and rebel and they're going to speak against what we're doing. So we have to make it more difficult. We're going to squeeze on them more. We're going to put more press on them. We're going to force them to show their hand. You're either going to do what is necessary to stop us, or you're just going to succumb to it, and then we're just going to do whatever the hell we want. So what's the option? What do you see happening next? We see there's pushback. Are we going to see enough of it? Are enough people going to wake up? We know the problem. We see what's happening. But do we care enough to do anything about it? Honestly.
I think you just answered your own question, man. You said you didn't take it serious at first. So if you didn't take it serious at first, why would anybody else? So we live in a country, man, where people are reactive versus proactive. We're so used to suffering and going through things. That's why people don't realize they have a good thing until it's gone. That's why people think the grass is always greener on the other side. Because people are so busy caught up in what everybody else is doing, they don't realize what they have going on. So they're not even in real time living their own lives. So if you're not even in real time living your own life and you're not aware of what's going on within yourself, as within, so without, how are you going to be cognizant of what's going on problematic around you, and then also be of mind to have a problem solving mindset? So again, man, you just conditioned to be a bunch of followers, not a bunch of leaders. And there's nothing wrong with being a follower, because in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower. You got to be able to take orders. You got to be able to understand the mission in totality. But at the same time, you got to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings, and you got to want to do better. But people don't want to do better, and that's the issue.
Yeah, going off of that, one of the sad things, this is also has come up in climate change research, where they've been trying to figure out, like, why is there no action on climate change? Like, this was actually my master's thesis, where I myself was trying to figure out, is it education, or is there something else that makes people disengaged from climate change and the solutions involved? And what my research found is, overwhelmingly, people are concerned about climate change. People are aware of climate change, what it means, and how it is going to affect us. It's just a lot of people, one, do not prioritize it because they're worried about more immediate things. And this exactly lines up with what other, like, psychologists, sociologists, and historians have found, that people don't care about things until it affects them directly, until they have a physical reason to change, something that actually pushes them to form a response against it because it is directly changing how they have to live. Most people will not do anything. They will not make an effort to help themselves, help the future, help other people, unless they have a specific reason to do so, and a reason that benefits them personally. Most people are, unfortunately, without any other word to use, we're selfish, whether we like to admit it or not. Like, we are people that like to take care of ourselves first, our families first, and we are going to take all other problems second. The priority for us is going to be, am I comfortable? Do I have what I want? Do I have my food? Do I have my house? Do I have my needs met? And if those answers are no, we're not going to care about other things. Like, we are going to be prioritizing the immediate needs. And so until these issues affect somebody directly, most people aren't going to really do anything about them because there's no incentive to. So I think, sadly, a lot of these issues aren't going to be solved until enough people are dramatically affected by it, i.e., we literally don't have water. Our houses have all been taken away. Like, we have nowhere to live. I mean, we're probably going to start seeing it due to the record numbers of people that I've seen foreclosed out of their homes, living out of cars, living in storage units, living on the streets, as well as this rapid rise of like your water's unsafe to drink, your air is unsafe to breathe, stuff like that. But people need an external push often to care about something.
Smoke them out, right? Start a fire at in the basement, and see how everybody's scattered. Yeah. That whole trailer sleeping inside the unit thing, I heard about that too. That's crazy. It's actually, and there's people that's renting out the U-Haul vans, and they're actually living in those too. Like, yeah, people are having a hard time out here, man.
Also, people permanently living in extended stays and motels as well, which I've had to do myself. When I was in Illinois, we had to live in an extended stay because it was the only place we could afford.
I mean, it's really not that crazy. I think what happens is sometimes you're just so far removed that you don't understand what other people have going on. I mean, you know, we're getting ready to wrap this up, but it's all kind of stories that I can share as well. But you know, you just got to do what you got to do to make it happen. You know what I mean? A lot of people are out there doing it now, and I think right now we're in a stage, and it's the younger generation. They're becoming minimalists. They don't need all of those extravagant things and those big ass cars and all that excessive shit that they're spending money and stuff on. They're minimalists. And the reason why is because the rest of the world is like that. Only in America you come out here and get the big house, the big cars, all the jewelry and all this lavish stuff. The rest of the world is just comfortably living with the things that they have. And I think with social media and the internet, people are able to see how other people are living throughout the world. And then now you got people that are even traveling more, and they go into different countries and realize that they can do different things and their money can go a little longer. But the issue with that is becoming an expat, losing your citizenship, and then having to pay taxes and different things in other countries. So that's a whole other conversation. But the generation now, they're not buying houses. They're not looking to be locked into a 30-year mortgage, because the extended stays, the apartments, the 6-month leases, they can Airbnb it out, or they can just be there for a couple of months because everybody's teleworking and doing their own things. They're not locked into one actual location. And then to use the words you always say is how we traditionally were. That brick and mortar job where you just stayed in one place, and then we start talking about generational wealth and planning, and then this generation is like, who told you I wanted to be in that house 20 years from now? You know what I'm saying? You didn't even ask me. You talking about generational wealth? That ain't the wealth that I'm looking for. So you know what I'm saying? It's just a big disconnect. And I think that's the things that we're realizing right now. And that's what's missing from bridging that gap, is the conversation piece. Is we're so traditionally stuck into our way of thinking and what we would want to do and what we were told to be, versions of being successful. It looks completely different now and in the foreseeable future.
Food for thought.
Hey, we can get 50-year mortgages soon. Hopefully not.
Don't fall for that trap.
Hey, y'all do with that, which I will. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. I don't have nothing else to say. He cooked. Sydney cooked. I'm just a fly on the wall. They don't like us. That's how I feel about it. They want us all to be slaves. They want to take everything from us. They want full control over everything, access to everything. If you have your own mind and you think differently than them, you're a problem. What you gonna do? Anyway, we about to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a blessed weekend as well. And we about to go. Do me a solid before you leave, if you don't mind.
What's the goddamn button?
Go ahead. You want to say something?
Oh, I was gonna say I do have a poem if you want me to end with one. Since it is Friday.
Go ahead. You can close out with it.
Okay. I thought it was very fitting. Called Scourge of Entitlement. Around calculated corners, behind barricaded borders, live half-hardened people with fat, faithless feet, dining on paper poison with trash heaps for sleep, lives stolen and shipped off to feed an intellectual war. The gardens of integrity for generations bloomed bright, wither painfully in false digital light. Monuments crumble in the shadows of false kings as the powerful bask wearing imperial rings. These most deceptive crimes parse humans from their whole, while original sin is sold for insidious goals. To forego forgiveness to force us to forget fables of old fathers thrown into deep seething seas. From fragile fabrics of the universe, shards of reality are stolen and cursed. Images for wallpapers and trash, plaster palaces of marble and ash. These pleased heathens beseech greed behind windows of double-paned glass, preaching with mosaics from the slavery class, praying to hips without souls attached. Up on the hills, they built their homes with velvet promises and ivory bones, tactfully treacherous while begging for clothes, begging their evils, protecting their evils, they shan't be exposed. Straight ahead eyes, staring, ignoring, hearts cold, hands deceptively fold. Worry not for those who own all the gold. Instead, fear those bought and sold. For greed is a shame, but really quite tame than the ones observing nuns with disdain, who happily throw less thans in front of a train. Worry not of the wealthy that live like we do. Instead, fear for the eager that profit off you.